How do you win with money? That's a question so many people are asking right now, especially in a week when we watched Netflix stock tumble by $54 billion. Elon Musk took over Twitter. I mean, it's just a crazy time. If you're watching the stock market, I'm sorry about your whiplash. It's been a real ride. And you might be wondering, like, with inflation, with what's going on in the world, with the war, how do we win with money? And you might have a family you're trying to raise, and you're just asking all these questions. It's a really stressful time when you think about money. But I'm convinced that God wants us to win with money. I'm welcoming my friend Bob Neumann here today, who has a lifetime of experience helping families win with money. And we've been talking a little bit about his experience, about what he's observed. And Bob, we'd love to just hear some of your expertise on things that, things, how do you get out of debt? How do you enjoy life, knowing that you got so many limitations? How do you become somebody who makes a difference in the world? You have anything to say about any of those topics, Bob?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to debt, I think the most important thing is to want to get out of debt.
Yeah.
And we suggest people using the 80-20 rule or the 70-30 rule.
Yeah.
And you live on 80, but you take your 20% and set 10% aside for long-term savings, 5% minimum for emergency fund, and then you have 5% left over for giving or for paying down your debt. Sometimes you have to massage that a little bit. Maybe you only go 5% to long-term savings and 3% for emergency fund, and then take that rest and apply it towards your debt. You can do a debt roll-up, which means you take the smallest debt you have and you add, say, $50 or $100 to that, get that paid off, then take that same money and roll it up to the next one. And you can actually take, say, $10,000 or $11,000, $12,000 of debt, which would include maybe some student loans, your credit cards, and have that all paid off within the next 3 years.
Yeah.
If you keep that principle going and do it for 12 years, you can get completely out of debt, including your mortgage, if you want to do that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing to have no mortgage.
Well, then you've got $1,500 to $2,500, depending on what you're paying a month, that you can put toward retirement and live a great life.
Yeah.
If you don't have a mortgage payment, that's huge.
That is huge. Now, I've been to your house. In fact, we've played the modified golf game at your place that you have on. And how many acres do you have at your place?
21.
21 acres.
Yeah.
Now, Bob is only 29 years old and still does all the work around his place. And
29, you said?
Yeah, that's right. And we were just talking about how you're doing all this 5,000 feet of trails. You're putting new bark down and chips, and also you can have a good trail system. But at your home, so how long has your home, do you mind me asking, how long has it been paid off?
I don't know quite how to answer that. I have a beach house. That's probably a better answer there.
Okay.
Because I took, 10 years ago, I took a reverse mortgage on my place.
Okay.
And I haven't made a payment for that whole 10 or 12 years.
Right.
But the place has increased in value almost double.
Sure.
While the mortgage has only increased a little bit.
Okay.
Portion of that.
Yeah.
So when you get to be my age and you have all this equity in your home, there's a places up there now, like mine, even though I have a modest home, it's probably worth $1.2 million.
Big property.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I would encourage people to do is be sure you can get into a piece of property because it grows on the say it's worth $700,000. So you got $700,000 growing, where if you have investments of $50,000, it's only $50,000 growing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it can grow really fast with property, and it's a fairly safe bet, really, over the long haul.
So to go a little further on that, I bought the beach house about 25, 26, 27 years ago. Paid $130,000 and put $30,000 down on it. Today it's worth $700,000, and I paid that off in 10 years. That was my way of saving. I like to spend, but I also have disciplined myself to save 10% of what I make and put that away. I'm still doing that today.
That's great, Bob. Yeah. I love it. That's cool. Okay, so let's say somebody's out there right now and money is a real issue in their marriage.
Okay.
How would you advise them to release some of the tension, lessen some of the tension? What are some principles you could talk about that would help them, come together on a plan for succeeding, winning with money?
The first thing I think they need to do is sit down and look at where they're at. And then both of them, every time they do an expenditure, write it down for the next 30 days. Write down everything you've spent so you can get a handle on what you're doing. Now, usually in a marriage, one person will be the person that likes to spend, and the other person likes to save. And somehow you got to get on the same page. You want to get out of debt. You want to be financially free someday, and you got to sit down and figure out where you are for the next 30 days. Find out where all your money's going.
Yeah,
and then start making some decisions. For the one who likes to spend in the family, and sometimes it's the man, unfortunately.
We won't ask my wife about that.
Yeah, and we go out and we buy these nice big honking trucks, because we're a carpenter, so we think we need this big truck to do our business. And yet, how often do you use the bed of the truck? Wouldn't it be better to buy a used car? An 08 that's got 125,000 miles on it. You could probably pick it up for 10 to 12, 13, 14,000, instead of paying 65 to 70,000 with a big lease or a big payment.
Yeah.
It's just some things like that you can do.
So it sounds like you're saying we got to get on the same page about what we actually want in a family. And, just to throw in one thing that we've noticed, my wife and I have noticed, is that a shared goal often does pull us together.
Yep.
And so maybe it's just more conversation on what is something we both want that we could then go to work on, we'd be willing to sacrifice for.
And there's the key.
Yeah.
Get a sacrifice.
Yeah, that's right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. What's something that has pulled you together with your family over the years? I mean, the beach house might be one thing. Was there anything else that for you was like you were sharing a goal?
Well, from the beginning, I always mentioned to my son, you need to save 10%, period. It's an old theory from way back.
Yeah.
And he's done much better than I have over the years as far as saving.
Okay.
And he's then practiced that with his kids and his grandkids.
Okay. Yeah, and your son's Mike, and just for those of you who are listening and you don't know Bob or Mike, they've been together, working together, really as a team, right, in the financial business, helping families win with money,
right,
with World Financial Group and Transamerica. Any other names we should mention?
Those are the main ones.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I've known Bob for a long time, and just watching their family legacy has really been remarkable. Really amazing to see. People caring so much about what we called on Sunday in our church service at Westside, we called stewardship. Mm-hmm. That God has given us His resources, and we're responsible to handle those well, to manage those well. And we've really watched you guys, not just you, but also your family, take up that legacy. That's been really cool. Yeah.
And one thing when it comes to money, it's probably the most thing that families argue about. And you get into a real Donnybrook oftentimes, and one gets really hurt. So you have to ask yourself, was it really that important?
Mm-hmm.
Anything you say, was it really that important? And make sure before you lay your head on the pillow, or after you put your head on the pillow, that if you're the one that was the bad person, make sure you ask forgiveness.
That's great.
Don't go to sleep, until you've asked forgiveness, or the other, your partner, same way.
Yeah. And we know that arguing about money, tension over financial communication is actually the number 2 cause of divorce right now. So I love that idea that there'd be this willingness to acknowledge